So you're thinking about making the move to Michigan, whether it's for work, family, retirement, a lower cost of living, or because the state is just one of a kind. Whatever your reasoning is, I have found there to be a lot of contradicting views about Michigan online, and it's been leaving a lot of people conflicted about where to look, where to move, what's affordable, what's expensive, and what areas truly have that lifestyle and amenities that you very much want and need as a fresh new Michigander. So I figured I would take some time to create 3 fictional scenarios that cater to a lot of your situations out there. The number one most common question I get is, where should I live in Michigan? And as cut and dry as that question may seem to be, it's the toughest to answer because it really comes down to your particular circumstance and your lifestyle. Are you someone coming from a crowded city and the last thing you want to do is see another person's face or hear another car honking? Okay, let's talk acreage, privacy, and ruralness. Or are you someone who enjoys a nice downtown space, not too crowded, but has a community aspect that puts a smile on your face every single day? Okay, that's downtown life at the forefront. Of course, your priority list is based on much more than just being rural or near downtown. Maybe it's good schools, nearby healthcare, nearby nature because you like hiking and biking, good amenities within close proximity, and of course, wanting to stretch your dollar for the biggest and best home as far as possible too. This process can get stressful extremely quickly, but with where the housing market is today, there needs to be a little bit of a reality check. And that comes from circling back to affordability and your budget. And I know what you might be thinking, here's another realtor wanting to know my budget. And I get it, but knowing that knowledge is in your best interest to ensure you don't jump into a home you couldn't possibly afford or just simply hate. At the end of the day, I could tell you Bloomfield Hills, Birmingham, Northville, and Novi are the best places to live in Metro Detroit. But if it doesn't fit your lifestyle and it doesn't fit your budget, it's not exactly helpful for you in your situation. When you have a sense of your budget and how much you're comfortable with spending, the rest of your wants and needs list will fall into place. I'm not saying there won't be compromises, but it will be easier to narrow in on those areas of interest instead of throwing a dart at a Metro Detroit map and calling it a day. With all this being said, I want to share scenarios of 3 fictional people with different budgets as well as wants and needs. Person number 1, we will call this person Brad. Brad has a budget of $300,000. It's him and his golden retriever, Benjamin. Brad has a girlfriend, but they aren't that serious yet. We're giving it some time, but understanding the potential for his girlfriend, Sheila, to move in one day. So a house that can be grown into is a must. He has a job in the automotive industry where he has to commute to Detroit, but he'd rather not live right in Detroit. So within 30 minutes would be perfect for him in his situation because with rush hour traffic, it'll make that commute even longer. He's also a young person wanting a little bit of that social scene, so neighbors, sidewalks, and amenities are all in the wheelhouse for our friend Brad. After putting this criteria for a home in a search, Brad decided he wanted to focus on a few areas based on the downtown areas, as well as being close to his colleagues. After collaborating with his good buddy realtor Andrew to go over this home search and receive important resources to see the safety, the rankings, the quality of each city, he narrowed in on Royal Oak, Berkeley, Clawson, and Ferndale. Each of these communities have a unique close-knit downtown space, and the commute to his job is well under 30 minutes. Of course, Brad would like to live in Royal Oak more than any of the other areas, but all the other communities are still within close proximity, and it's a compromise he made to cast an even bigger net of potential homes to purchase with the limited inventory for sale. Brad is in the price range where options aren't always plentiful. Most of the options tend to be in these suburbs on the outskirts of Detroit for Brad's criteria. Person number 2, we will call them Karen. Karen has a budget of $500,000. It's her husband Jeff, and 2 kids, Billy and Sarah, along with their rabbit Hoppy. Karen and Jeff both have hybrid jobs where they go into the office 1 to 2 times a week. So having a short work commute isn't necessarily a priority, but schools in a nice community are, for their kids transitioning from middle school to high school this year. Karen and Jeff love the outdoors and everything nature, so having that particular amenity is crucial. Their daughter Sarah is a huge shopper, so having that nearby would be pretty cool too. And Billy just wants to hang out with his homies downtown. It's also crucial that the home is larger to accommodate home offices. With Karen's criteria, Maya, she and her family are able to cast a net that is just huge over Metro Detroit, and their options open up quite a bit. They've heard good things about Ann Arbor. It falls within the budget and checks some boxes, but Jeff doesn't really like the hustle and bustle that comes with it. The traffic is overwhelming at times too. And I hear you, Jeff. That shrinks that net down a little bit, but that's okay because it makes us one step closer to the city you want to call home. The Rochester Hills area comes to mind, and even Lake Orion. There's a good downtown, good schools, several parks and recreational areas, and is more of a closer knit feeling compared to Ann Arbor. But then there's Brighton with top rated schools, a great downtown space, and there's an overwhelming amount of nature activities with Brighton Rec, Huron Meadows, and the nearby Island Lake Recreation that connects to Kensington Metro Park. But wait, there's also Canton and Plymouth. Canton doesn't have the close-knit downtown, but Plymouth does. The parks and recreation are a little more limited, pretty scarce, but the area is still nice. This is a spot a lot of my clients find themselves in because Michigan is so unique from city to city and township to township. It takes even more narrowing down from there. At this point, there's two routes to go. You're either content with any of these areas and it comes down to finding the right home. The Canton area is full of 1970s colonials, but your dollar will go further in Canton than it will in Plymouth, since the average sale price in Canton, as of recording this, is around $395,000, and Plymouth is $430,000 to $445,000, depending on if you're in the city or the township. The Rochester Hills and Lake Orion area, similar situation. Rochester sits at just over $460,000, Rochester Hills is just under $430,000, and Lake Orion is just under $400,000. Then the Brighton area has a similar spread to that, from $356,000 to $461,000, depending on if you're in the city or the township. The second route is you start to play a little bit of process of elimination and narrow down on the area or region. Maybe you lean towards Plymouth and Canton because you like how it's between Ann Arbor and Detroit, but not in those places. And the close proximity of other great nearby communities brings in a lot of amenities you can take advantage of. Or maybe you prioritize nature more and like to be in the northern part of Metro Detroit because it's less busy and you're okay with a longer commute to wherever that is. Lastly, we have number 3, and we will call this person Gatsby. Gatsby has a budget of $800,000. He and his wife, Daisy, are empty nesters now after all 3 children moved out. They're getting close to retirement and looking for a home for the rest of their lives. And Gatsby knows that Michigan is known for the lakes, so what better way to enjoy retirement than a nice view of the water and a place that their family can visit? Being close to the essentials is a given for Gatsby, but they don't need a downtown space since lakes provide a community of their own and school rankings aren't a priority to them as they once were. This net is casted even bigger in a sense that there's a ton of lakes in Michigan, but real estate is also so incredibly diverse on lakes, ranging from little $250,000 to $300,000 cottages to multi-million-dollar modernized mansions. So this search will yield a ton of one-off properties on lakes scattered around Metro Detroit. So it comes down to the 2 routes I mentioned with our friend Brad. Content with an area, and it's about the house, or you narrow down based on more criteria. In Gatsby's case, we are looking for the biggest house possible for the money on a nicer all-sports lake. Based on the available inventory, this search could contain areas such as Fenton, the Brighton-Hamburg area, if you're interested in Livingston County, White Lake and Highland, West Bloomfield, Commerce, as well as the Lake Orion area. Keep in mind, $800,000 is not a lot for a sizable lake home on a good waterfront these days, which is sad to say, but you truly are paying a hefty premium for the water. In Gatsby's situation, unless there was an area preference, I would be as broad as possible to increase more inventory in that price range. Maybe it's not the most well-known and popular lake, but it's a good size and it's all sports. I hope our friends Brad, Karen, and Gatsby helped give you some insight into the thought process of buying a home in Michigan based on budgets and their specific wants and needs, as well as a few other areas they'd be looking at based on their circumstance and how far they could stretch their dollar. If you're someone in this boat where you're looking at homes in Michigan and trying to narrow in on a spot and it's just extremely overwhelming, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I would be happy to pick your brain, hear your thoughts, and help you with a direction that suits your circumstance. Thanks as always for watching. Until next time.